I've been selling my products on Amazon for more than I think 5 years now, and in fact today my fitness brand is my biggest source of income. Hopefully now it provides me with a steady source of income, but it wasn't always like that. My business wasn't always profitable, especially at the beginning. So I've made so many mistakes and I've learned a lot from them, and in today's video I'm going to share with you how to sell on Amazon as a Canadian, how taxes work, setting up a corporation or LLC, bank accounts, and a few tips and tricks you must know before start selling on Amazon. So without further ado, let's get started. So as a Canadian, you're allowed to sell on all the Amazon marketplaces all over the world. But if you're thinking between selling on Amazon US and Amazon Canada, I highly recommend start selling on Amazon US for so many reasons. The most obvious reason is that the population of US is 10 times bigger than the population in Canada. In fact, the US population is 333 million and Canadian population is almost 40 million. So as you can see, the US marketplace should be 10 times bigger than the Canadian marketplace, which means in the US you're gonna have more sales, but also you're gonna have more competition at the same time. So what smart Amazon sellers do, and what I personally recommend, is to start selling on Amazon US, and after a few months or after a year, if your business is profitable, you can expand it to Canadian or European marketplaces. A common misconception new sellers have is that you can store your inventory on Amazon Canada in Canadian fulfillment centers and you can start selling in US or Mexico, and that's not true. If you want to sell in the US, you need to ship your inventory to US fulfillment centers, and if you want to sell in Canada, you have to ship your inventory to Canadian fulfillment centers. For example, personally, when I order 10,000 units of a product, usually I send 7,000 units to the US marketplace and 3,000 units to the Canadian marketplace. It's good to know that in the Europe it's a little bit different. There's something called the European FBA program, which allows you to sell all over the European marketplace. Alright, so the first step to get started is to choose a selling plan from Amazon, and you have two options. You have the individual account and you have the professional account. As you can see, if you sell less than 40 units a month, you can choose the individual account, which costs $1 per item plus additional fees. But if you sell more than 40 units a month and you're serious about your Amazon FBA business, you should choose the professional account, which costs $40 US per month. But hopefully I've got a hack for you. So if you want the professional plan, you can go to Amazon Canada and get your plan from there, which costs only 30 Canadian dollars, which is going to be a little bit less expensive after you convert to US dollar, and still have access to Amazon US, Amazon Mexico, and save 25 Canadian dollars every month. Even if you don't have the intention to sell on Amazon Canada, you can still do this trick and you can use this hack to sell on Amazon US and save some money every month. In the past, Amazon sellers used to need a separate Amazon account to sell on the US marketplace, Canadian marketplace, or Mexican marketplace. But hopefully now you'll get what's called a North American unified account. So when you sign up on any of these three marketplaces, you automatically get a unified account. This way you can sell in all three North American marketplaces under just one professional account. Alright, once we are done with our selling plan, the next step is to choose if you want to do business as a sole prop, as a person, or as a corporation, or as a company. So the most common question Canadian sellers ask is, do I need to set up a corporation or LLC to start selling on Amazon US? And the answer is no, you don't. Some people decide to set up a Canadian corporation or an LLC in the US before start selling on Amazon, and it has its own benefits. For example, you have limited liability or you have lower taxes with the corporation taxes. But personally, what I would say is that for the 90% of the beginners, setting up a corporation or an LLC is completely unnecessary. It costs a lot of money to set up a corporation and hire an accountant to do your bookkeeping, accounting, taxes every year, and it might cost you thousands of dollars every year to maintain just that corporation. But hopefully you can use your SIN number and start selling as a sole prop. After a few months or even after a year, if the business is still profitable, you can incorporate your business. So it's up to you if you want to set up a corporation, but it's not a requirement and I usually don't recommend it. Now let's talk about the bank accounts. So if you're a beginner and you're just starting out, you can enter your Canadian bank account information and get started. Amazon converts your money from the US dollar to Canadian dollar and deposits into your bank account every 2 weeks. So a lot of new sellers think that it's a good idea to open a US dollar account with their current RBC or TD or BMO Bank or CIBC Bank in Canada, but although their account is in the US dollar, what Amazon looks at is the location of your bank, which is in Canada. So they're gonna pay you in the Canadian dollars regardless of if you opened a US account or not. They look at your bank location, not your bank account currency. So if you're looking to get paid in the US dollar, you should open a US based bank account, not a US dollar bank account, a US based bank account, which means a Canadian bank but located in the US. Some Amazon sellers open a bank account with BMO Harris, which is based in Chicago. You can open a bank with RBC Georgia as well. The process is pretty simple. You can just call them and they're gonna set up a bank account for you. Now, although you can start with your Canadian bank account, but every time Amazon deposits money to your Canadian bank account, they're gonna charge you a high exchange rate. Another thing is you buy your inventory from Alibaba in US dollar as well. So if you open a US based bank account, you save a lot on exchange rate, and generally speaking, it makes everything so much easier for you over the long term. But if it's just a short-term thing, of course you can go ahead and just enter your Canadian bank account information and get us started. Now let's talk about the requirements to sell on Amazon. So in order to sell on Amazon, you'll need a chargeable credit card, a bank account where Amazon can deposit your sales bi-weekly, a government issued ID, your SIN number or other tax information, an email address, and a phone number, because they're gonna send you a text with a verification code and you need to enter and verify that code. Alright, the next question I get asked a lot is about the income tax and the sales tax, which are very confusing for the beginners. Just before I get into the taxes, I want to quickly mention that I'm not a tax advisor and I'm just sharing my personal experience. So make sure to go ahead and talk with your tax advisor before making any decision. So as a Canadian, whether you're a sole prop or a corporation, Amazon automatically asks you to sign a form to let the IRS know that you are a non-US resident person or a company and pay your taxes only to the CRA, not IRS. Now this form is called W8BEN for individuals or form W8BEN-E for Canadian corporations. So it's an automated process, something like an automated tax review, which Amazon automatically asks you to read and sign while you're creating a seller account. So you only pay income taxes in your own country to the CRA in Canada, if you live in Canada, not the IRS, which is great. So we talked about the income tax, but there is something else. There's another tax called the sales tax, which is a little bit more complicated. So generally speaking, at the beginning, sales tax is something that you shouldn't be worried about. I mean, unless you sell over $10,000 a month, which is a crazy number, you shouldn't be worried about sales tax at all. As you might know, in Canada for sales tax we have the GST and HST, depends on what province you live in. And as a business, once you surpass the $30,000 threshold of sales, of total sales in the last 12 months, you need to register for the GST, HST and start collecting and remitting them to the CRA. But in the US it's a little bit more complicated. So there comes a time that you'll have nexus in some of the US states. So there are two different kinds of nexus in the US. There is the physical nexus and there is the economic nexus. A physical nexus means that you have a physical presence in a state. A physical presence might be something like if you have an office in a state, if you have inventory, if you have a warehouse in a state. So it needs some sort of a physical presence there. And therefore you're gonna have the physical nexus and you need to be collecting and remitting sales taxes to that state. But there is also something called economic nexus, which was established I think in 2018. Before that it didn't exist. It was only if you had the physical presence. But now things a little bit changed. So economic nexus is where you reach a certain threshold in terms of sales, like 100,000 US dollars, and then you need to start collecting sales taxes in that state. Now how this works is the first step is you have to go ahead and get a sales tax permit, because if you start collecting sales taxes in the US or even in Canada without a permit, without a a license, it's illegal, so don't do that. But hopefully the process is pretty simple. You just have to go ahead and Google sales tax permit with that specific state, and you can go ahead and just register very quickly and go to your Amazon Seller Central and enter that number, your sales tax number on Amazon Marketplace, and Amazon automatically collect the taxes from the customers for you, and you're going to have to remit them. But as I mentioned earlier, sales tax is something that you shouldn't be worried about, especially at the beginning. And once you start selling thousands of dollars every month and you surpass that threshold, then you have to start thinking about that and start collecting sales taxes. But for the beginning, there is no need to do that. Alright, now you know how to sell on Amazon as a Canadian, but you're just halfway. The next step is to go ahead and watch this video and learn how to find a profitable product, how to sell on Amazon, how to source them from Chinese supplier, how to pay your Chinese supplier, and much more. So make sure to go ahead and watch this video. I also created a very affordable Amazon FBA course that you can go ahead and master every aspect of Amazon FBA business and learn more advanced tips and tricks. I'll leave a link down in the description as well. As always, thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Cheers.